What's up, guys? It's Tuesday, which can only mean one thing. That's right. It's TransWorld Live. What's going on? We are glad you are here. Hopefully, you're feeling really good after East Coast Haunters Convention and East Coast Christmas Show. And we're so excited to unpack everything. Rob, we can't do it, and you're first. We can't do it without you. So thanks for being here. Well, guys, as you're logging in, we're super excited to have you here. We are streaming to 5 different feeds. So please, we love when you watch, but we also love you even more when you let us know when you're here, just like Holly did, just like Katie Lane. Guys, what's going on? I feel like we've just seen each other 12 hours ago. Sean, absolutely the same day. Dean, same goes. Guys, what's up? Anthony, what's going on? Okay, we've got some birthdays to celebrate. Today is a big one for some reason. We've got a lot. Kimmy Bear, Tara Fred, Adam Drendel, Derek Gibson, Ethan Camperman, Chase Olson, and Rich Zawandiak. Happy birthday to them. Tomorrow, Greg Sayers, Kylie O'Connell, Jim Upchurch. Happy birthday to them. On the 1st, Diablo Lopez, our good friend Diablo over there. And then on the 2nd, Billy Groenwald and Megan Clancy. Happy birthday to them. So, quick announcement before we unpack everything that is East Coast. MHC is right around the corner. We're going to start that road next week, but we do want to let everybody know that exhibitor and buyer/attendee registration is now open. So we want to make sure that you start to get your tickets. Jenny actually just told us right before this that some of the parties and the tour are now ready for purchase. So please make sure you don't miss out on your opportunity to be a part of another legendary Midwest Haunters, which we will get into with you on next Tuesday. Of course, this is our infamous Aftermath show where we're going to unpack everything that was East Coast Haunters Convention and East Coast Christmas Show 2025. And we can't do that without the founders of our feast. Please join us in welcoming Miss Jenny and Rich. Guys, what's going on?
Hi.
What's up?
There we are. What's up? I feel like we've just seen each all of us, like 5 minutes
Yes.
ago.
Yes. Long weekend, right?
We've got some delays here today. That's okay. I know Robert's working out his magic too. How are you guys feeling after another epic show, second season of our East Coast shows, our first Christmas show, and lines that were just crazy?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome to see. Well, first of all, Chris, I want to thank you and the team for doing an amazing job. I mean, you had that pick going. It was awesome. I had heard so many great things about it. So I really want to thank you. I know you worked super hard and you and the whole team making that happen. And that just is such an amazing element to the show. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a pleasure, but we can't do it without all these amazing people. And yes, Charles, I am hoarse because we were excited. I think we may need to do a quick reload here, guys. Hang with us for 1 second. We're going to try to fix this.
All right, it's me and Jenny. Now we're being right back. Wants to do it again.
Fingers crossed. Maybe we're working. Maybe we're not. I don't know.
We're back.
Hey, there we go. Proof that we have a live show here. That's the best part.
Yep,
Yes.
it is not taped.
Oh, guys, how killer was East Coast? Like, I felt it was just as slam packed as you would see at TransWorld.
I was super excited. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the world, so I just wasn't sure what to expect. And I was blown away. I was really blown away. I think someone said to me, "Look, I haven't seen Rich stop smiling." I think, with everything, and you watch the news and things like that, and everything's just pretty scary out there. So I just didn't know what to expect. And Rich is like, "You have to come out with me and see this line." And it just kept going and going, and even in the rain. And it was super exciting. I mean, we worked so hard, and to see like the fruits of your labor
Yeah.
pay off, it was amazing. And I have to say, the exhibitors brought it. I mean, the show floor
Oh
was
my gosh.
ridiculously beautiful with all these great exhibits, all this amazing product. It was super impressive, like it really was. I think Michael
And
Shaley said if we had carpet, it would be like a mini TransWorld. I mean, it was ridiculous how great these booths were.
It
So.
is funny how people were asking about the carpet if we were going to do that, but yeah, not at this show. That's not. But, I mean, some new things for those of you who missed it. We added a Christmas element this year. They had their own show in a hall that was connecting, and that went very well. We had Mr. and Mrs. Claus there. We had Mr. and Mrs. Krampus. So it was
That was
kind of funny, and
cute.
we had some pictures actually where they met up together. See? So
love
I mean, how often do you see a show where you see these four together? So
the best of both worlds.
yeah, exactly. The good,
It
the
just sums up
evil,
the show right
two worlds
there.
colliding. I mean, you could call it whatever you want, but it was pretty cool seeing that. And we actually had somebody else to cut a picture of them just sitting there chatting it up together, organically. It was kind of funny seeing that. We enjoyed that. We enjoyed some of the things we did on the Christmas side with, the house tour. Well, we want to thank Mike and Andy for graciously having us at their homes for the X-Lights tour. That was a great success. Both homes people loved. We plan on expanding on that next year, so that'll be kind of cool for that. On the hunt side, I mean, the pit was just over the top. I want to thank every one of those 21 hunts that came and represented themselves. It grew from last year, and like one of our guests tonight is actually a hunt that's probably the furthest away that came all the way to this show because he just wanted to be part of it, and their hunt wanted to be part of it, and their team and all their actors and members couldn't have been nicer. They were all very nice and very helpful, and their booth was amazing. So we're looking forward to what they do next year. That'll be kind of cool. One of my favorite things was the actual when we get into the award part of it. It was fun to see some of the cool booths, like Jen said. People really brought it. It was kind of like a mini TransWorld in a way, but a lot different. I mean, you don't see the big vendors that you see at TransWorld and some of the bigger props and bigger things. But it was neat. A lot of the cash and carry items and stuff. But it was interesting to see like our award winners from both Christmas and Halloween. I don't know if Robert has photos of that, but James from Boscoyo won the first Best Booth Award, and he also took home the Best New Product Award. So the Best New Product was his archway photo ops, which were really cool. I don't think a lot of people
Yes.
really realized how useful they are and how inexpensive they are, and the customization for those. We were talking to a lot of different hunters that were very excited about looking at it and how much money they could save with even signage, for like a VIP archway to, their queue lines and general admission and just creating archways for photo ops just creating surroundings for stores. There's like infinite possibilities there. So he won both of those awards, which has never happened before. We've never had somebody win best new product and
No.
best booth. So congrats to him. James has been, I call him Jimmy, but he's been an amazing. That's the entire team there, and as you can see in the background, you can see the some of the archways there. He had a lot of Christmas ones, obviously, because he was in the Christmas hall. But those things can be customized. You can put your hunt name on them. He can pretty much make you anything. And then hunters are really good at dressing up stuff with props and different things. It was amazing, and even on that side, like there was some really cool products over there. Where Jen and I are even buying some things for our home. We're looking at a mega tree. We got some ideas for classes for next year for mega trees, learning how to install them because we want to be able to do it. I want to thank all our sponsors. Like there were quite a few of them on the Christmas and the hunt side that really made the show what it was. So and then on the hunt side, I want to say congrats to Little Spider.
That booth was ridiculous.
Who again took home best booth. They've done it several times at different shows. That's the entire team there, along with the Graffiti FX girls who were part of their team this year. They did a combined 5 booths where they built a facade and did some face painting and different things in their booth to provide some add-ons for our guests. And then Illumabot, who became a sensation at TransWorld, actually won the best new product at East Coast, which was really cool. They really brought it. They picked up 4 booths and had 4 entryways into this illumination world that they created. That was actually really cool. And for those of you who didn't see the episode from TransWorld Live that showed what they really do, you can go back and look at that in our archives and check it out. But we do have a sneak peek coming soon. We're going to try to put together a show with the Illumabot team is actually coming to our home, and they're going to install. I have the projector, and I bought the Illumabot and software, and they're going to help me install this for a future show. And it's probably going to happen like sometime before MHC, and we'll probably pre-record it and then play it live, which will help everybody to learn how to use this product, which we think is unbelievable for the money and what you can do. So it's great for businesses and homes. So of course they ended up winning best new product. So that stuff was cool. What else did you see, Jen, that you really enjoyed about the show?
I was so grateful for, on the haunt side, as Rich was saying, the X-Lights tour on the Christmas side was amazing. And I think it gives a different kind of perspective of things. And it's always great to be able to see things and learn, to be able to add on to your existing shows. The haunt tours, were amazing. Hershey Park, kicking everything off. And even before that, we'll start with Hershey since he's got the big show. Hershey Park, absolutely ridiculous. Everyone loved it. And I think it just has this really great element of being in the park, at least for a few hours without anyone else there, and being able to ride rides consistently, especially if you are, a coaster lover. That's just a great experience. And the pre-show tour was great. I'm super appreciative to Rich and Frank for opening up the doors and everything else. And it just was a great experience. The pre-show tours, Hershey Park, and then, FOS, which is Field of Screams. Everyone, I think hands down, just loved it and were blown away. I heard a lot of people say that they wish they had more time there, to really walk through it and experience more things. So I think everyone on the tours brought it. And then Saturday night, we rented out a prison. So what's cooler than that? Like go into a prison and have small tours and have DJs and be able to see with some of their haunts with actors and, just the whole element, even from the outside, of just the enormity of the prison. I just think they're great experiences. And I know a lot of people during the year, can't travel either if they have, home decorated and they do their homes, or on the flip side, they're a commercial haunt and they can't, travel at that point. This is a great opportunity to be able to see those things. So, from that perspective, I'm really grateful that these people will open off season for us.
We're pretty lucky. Who gets an amusement park to open up for 300-400 people? It's so rare,
right?
We're blessed that these guys really respect the show and what we do, and what our team does, and let's be honest. They don't even break even bringing in 400 people to an amusement park. So it's kind of cool to do something like that, and have those experiences. And we love that our guests get to enjoy that kind of stuff. They help us, we help them.
It just enhances the show's experience.
Right. And then these haunts too, to open in the off season, it is a huge undertaking to do that, to be able to provide a show that they are comfortable with providing and making it, to live up to their standards, because they certainly don't want to open up for something that, that people would come and, be underwhelmed and not like it. So that, they go out of their way to do this, and we applaud all those guys that do these tours off season for us, because it's not simple. It's a hard thing to do, and we appreciate that. It goes a long way for us and the show and our attendees.
And it's hard to get actors to work in the off season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
Even besides turning on the lights, I know that that's been a challenge over the years for a lot of haunts. So we're just grateful for, there was a lot of different tours that we did this year. And I'm grateful for everyone opening up and opening their doors and having our attendees be able to buy tickets and see everything. So we're, really grateful for that. And I just felt like, I've been doing shows for 30 years, which is a very long time. And there's something about the East Coast energy. And Chris, I think exactly what I'm saying, because we've spoken about it before, that it just feels like old school.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
I loved it in Christmas. I loved it in Halloween.
Yes.
I feel like it just gets back to the basics and
Yeah.
it feels good. And I just think everyone brought the energy. The attendees brought the energy. The exhibitors brought the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You brought the energy. We brought the energy.
Yeah.
Like,
You
but
know,
I mean, it just,
what I love, been walking the floor in the pit and stuff like this. These are little things that people don't pay attention to. Some of the haunt owners there, they had their regular booth where they bring their actors, and this is a great place for them to kind of reward their actors and in the off season and then have them come. And it's kind of a party for them. You know what I mean? They reward them by buying these packages. And they come in and they bring their team of actors in. And the cool part that I saw is I saw families and just enthusiasts that were at the show, and they're out there, and these actors are on the floor and they're taking photo ops with these kids and families and things like that. And it wasn't really a place to scare people. It was more about hanging out and getting to know, coming up to the actors and seeing them in their element where they're not really working.
They're right. They're icon characters.
They're coming up and they're hanging out. And I saw a lot of people taking photos and stuff, and that was cool. In this show, there was a post on there by Taylor, from Graffiti FX and Little Spider at this show. They're on the road right now delivering, props that they sold at the show to various haunts that purchased them. So this is what the community is all about. I mean, people come on here, they watch this show, they can't wait till our next event so we can all get together. And everything's not perfect. This is a tough year for everyone with a lot of things that are going on politically, but the people showed up. Our attendance was up. Sales are always going to be a little tough in this kind of climate, and I think a lot of people did very well. But it blows my mind that people come out as much as they did with what's going on in the political climate.
Yeah, we weren't really sure what to expect, and we were kind of worried maybe some exhibitors would have trouble getting product in to actually exhibit. So we were grateful. I mean, to have numbers go up and have exhibitors bring all of this amazing product and everything be able to happen kind of to some degree business as usual. We're really grateful. I mean, honestly, and it was just so fun. I mean, it really was it was a great weekend. It went too fast for me, honestly. Yeah. Like, it was great. Everyone keeps asking us, are you going to end it? Are you going to start it on Friday? Well, is there going to be more days? I said, let's get through another year and then we can assess it.
It goes a long way too. The exhibitors bring cool stuff and they build great booths. There were several booths out there, and even another one of our guests that is going to be on Reaper's Harvest. I mean, Todd's booth was amazing. In all honesty, it was in the running for best booth. He had a great booth, great products, and this is what's cool, seeing these new vendors coming out and getting a year or two in and learning what's needed. And the best advice I could give to people is change your product and continue to stay ahead of the curve, because haunt owners are smart. They're going to buy stuff off you for a few years, and then they're probably going to make some of the stuff on their own. You got to keep innovating, keep making new products, so they always want to buy from you, and they want to buy and learn things. There's always going to be that guy that wants to make it himself and is going to take your ideas and run with them themselves because they're capable of it. But as long as you have that mindset that you're constantly looking to come up with new products, I mean, I've been saying this for years to people. I highly urge any vendor to be going to these tours and actually sitting down with these haunt owners and shaking hands and whatever, and walking through their haunts and understanding what these guys are doing and what their needs are, because that's where you're going to get ideas to make products. That's where people don't get it. And I even I'll give you a great example is that one of the head guys at Hershey Park happened to be in James from Boscoa's booth, and he's in there, and I introduced him because I knew the owner, and I also knew the guy that was running Hershey, and so I put them together, and it was interesting how the conversation had transformed into something, because James actually took the time to go to Hershey Park and look at the park and learn things about it, and he was able to talk to the manager of the park and explain to him things that he could do, and the guy was blown away. Because he actually came to his park, looked at it, and got ideas of how he could help him do some things to make it look cooler, and ideas of certain things that he already had at the park that he wasn't using properly, that he could use them in a better way.
Kind of enhance it.
Yeah, and enhance it. So this is where it's very important for a lot of, vendors and even haunt owners to go to other haunts when they have the opportunity to go on these tours. Everyone every owner that has the time to go on any haunt tour, especially legendary, you should be there, because you're seeing the best haunts in the country, ones that you don't have time to see during the year. So, visit that stuff. And the same thing happened here. If you have the time, a lot of guys come out because it's in their off season, and they came and they went to these tours and they saw some amazing things. And if you can take away even one thing from one of these haunts, it's going to go a long way for your business. And that's how you continue to stay ahead of the curve and make your haunt better every year.
And the other cool thing on the flip side, on the residential side, is I got to buy a lot of things for my house. And for the home haunter, this is amazing, because it's not like, there's a lot of times at TransWorld we don't get to buy it all, because there's just too much going on. So it's great to be able to walk around and get product, because when Halloween time comes, I don't really want to go into Spirit and buy stuff when there's all this amazing stuff that we have access to. Right. So I feel this show is so special for the home enthusiast, because you really get to step up your game, better than your neighbor. Yeah. Because you have this opportunity to buy such amazing product.
Yeah, big time on the Christmas
I think
side.
It's great on the Christmas side and on the Halloween side. Yeah. I bought this really cool thing from Ghost Ride. I don't know if anyone saw, with all the pencils shoved in the mouth.
Yes.
I thought how great when the tutors come to the house. And
we're going to sit that at the head of the table, put all the kids on there, and make a photo op.
But I mean, it just gives you great ideas. And I just think this show, it's so different from our St. Louis show. And it will give you an opportunity to buy cash and carry, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there are some orders, obviously, that exhibitors will still take, but it is very different. And people ask me, all the time, is it a different show? And I say, yeah, it's very different. And I think it's great to be able to bring a truck and be able to take everything you can off the floor, and have it for your haunt.
I think that's where, some people may have missed the boat a little bit, because it's a learning curve for them coming to the show. When you go to TransWorld, yes, do people take the displays home and things like that? People buy them and take them. But it's not a cash and carry show, and this is. So you absolutely need to bring additional product to sell. Even in the Christmas side, a lot of the guys, this was their first year doing the show, and they're used to TransWorld and the commercial sales and stuff. And the guys that brought cash and carry did extremely well.
Yeah, for sure.
And the guys that didn't bring cash and carry, they did good, and they had some made connections and things like that. But the guys that did really well, like Shane Dabbs did amazing. Like he was nonstop selling, and I mean that monkey helps too.
Layla's the hit of the show.
Yeah, Layla, I told him. This is kind of funny because Shane's like controversial sometimes. I said, dude, I'm surprised you don't have an OnlyFans channel for her. You know what I mean? I said, I'm sure people would watch and you make money off it. He was laughing. He's like, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
God help us all.
We're trying to convince Jen to agree for us to get a monkey here.
Hell no. I told him if that monkey comes in the house, I'm moving out.
We love Layla.
It's like a baby.
Yeah.
But anyways, to get back to things, I just want to thank everyone. Honestly, like, the East Coast support that we've gotten from all the haunted houses and all the home enthusiasts for Christmas and for Halloween, I'm very touched by, because to be able to grow in this tough of a year is mind blowing. I really didn't expect it. In all truth, last year I think we had 4 registration counters right before the show. Then we had 8. Rich wanted to double it, so we did 8. And right before the show, I went down to 6 because I'm like, I don't believe that we're going to need all that.
Well, we weren't seeing the numbers at that point either. And then the crazy thing, we had more signups on site for any show of this size than we've ever seen.
And closer to the show. Yeah. We had people registering, like a day or two before. And
it was crazy.
The numbers
they skyrocketed.
They skyrocketed. I mean, I would have never thought that we would jump this much, let alone after this year and this many people. And I'm just blown away. So I just really want to thank everyone for coming out. I mean, honestly, and living through the blackout, It's really cute. Rich,
the infamous blackout.
There's a guy who calls wants to make the blackout t-shirts. I mean, it's cute.
Yeah, so,
I survived the blackout.
Right. I mean, one of our vendors actually reached out and said he had a great idea and he wanted to make a t-shirt with a logo on it. And he thought it was a nice thing for us and all that. But unfortunately, we don't allow people to use our logos. I'm sure most people can understand that. But
it was cute. But
it was a neat idea. That the blackout was such a big thing. The funny thing is, It was received 2 different ways, and it totally makes sense with these shows. So on the Halloween side, everybody was loving it. They're putting on their cell phone lights, and they're act like they're at a concert, and they're swinging their phones back and forth, and everyone's cheering and all this stuff and screaming while it's going on. And on the Christmas side, everyone's like, "Oh!" And it's like. What just happened? They're thinking a terrorist attack's coming, but on the Halloween side, everybody's singing and dancing and
Oh, it was a party. It was a party.
yeah. And and then when the lights come back on, people were booing. You know what I mean? So funny thing is like, I mean, we were like, man, we should make that an annual event.
Yeah, we'll just shut the lights out at some point. You won't know when. It was funny. I was talking to my friend Mark Madonna, who you guys know does this squishy bridges from Creative Visions, and he's like, this poor woman who's never, been a client or didn't know him, got stuck on the bridge and just wasn't sure what to do.
Yeah,
but it's funny. So it was a great show. I mean, in reality, even though you've got the haunts on the front end and some other stuff in the tours, it's a day and a half on the show floor. I mean, it goes fast.
It does.
It goes super fast.
Yeah, it does.
And can we real quick highlight the pit haunts? Amazing, all 20 or 21 of them, and celebrate our 3 top competitors in the Olympics. Lincoln Mill, who did 3rd place. Frightmare Farms came in 2nd.
Wow.
And back-to-back champs. So champs last year, champs this year, Halloween nights at Eastern State.
They are very competitive. Erin is there. She wants to make sure she's winning.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Well, I mean, that's next year. I mean, some of these haunts got to prepare for it, and they got to step it up because we can't have them winning 3 years in a row.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. And can we just talk about the fact that to Rue's husband that I stapled money into his chest? Like, oh my God. Like, they were awesome. T3 was awesome. The other acts were awesome. I really appreciate everyone coming out and just making that show a huge success. And the pit is such a large part of what we do. So thank you, everyone.
No,
so part of the show. That's what's different with these shows in TransWorld. Midwest Haunters Convention is very similar. They same thing, and the pits are awesome. I think it's where all the energy's at.
And it's fun.
And people.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So
we got dancing, we've got people running around and just celebrating being with each other. You see actors from different haunts commingling, managers and owners talking. It's just a big family.
It is. And it is. It works really, really well. Really and it just feels good. I don't know. Every time I was in the pit, I was just smiling. Like it was fun to see the energy and the enthusiasm. And in St. Louis, it's a business to business show. You don't get that feeling. Yeah. It's a different feeling, and it's a good feeling. It's just in a very different way.
Yep. Very cool. And we got, and I just want to say thanks.
Great.
All the people that sent out thank you emails and thoughtful letters and stuff to us about
it means a lot.
How great the show was. We got a lot of them, and it was really nice to hear that. We always get the complaints when people are upset. Most people don't take the time to send the thank yous. We got so many. We were really appreciative of that.
We got text messages and everything else. Yeah. And we want to really thank Magical Light Show and Lightorama, on the Christmas side, that was our gold sponsor and our premier sponsor, and then as well as Froggy's Fog and Ticket Spice for being our sponsors. Froggy's Froggy's with their premier sponsorship every year it's amazing. It's amazing to have these people believe in us and help sponsor us. So I'm just so grateful. And there were so many other people as well.
Some people into the party here. Maybe. Uh-oh. Technical. Uh-oh.
We're back.
Well, like we were just talking about, thank you to Ticket Spice. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And it sounds like we should bring some people into our party, huh?
Yes. Absolutely.
All right. So guys, help me in Harvest and Ryan Settlemeyer from Lake Hickory Haunt. Guys, welcome to the aftermath. What's going on?
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Finally catching my breath.
Amen to that, right?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Holy cow. How has your time been this weekend? You know, we heard Jen and Rich kind of talking about everything. How was it for you, Todd?
I couldn't hear you.
Losing Todd.
Uh-oh. We're losing him. Caitlin, how was everything for Froggies?
Oh my.
Oh boy, this is a hot mess.
You might have to keep talking to us, Chris.
I can hear you now if that makes a difference.
The blackout is real, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us here. Hopefully you can hear us here. How about it, Jen and Rich? Like,
I know. You say the word blackout and you just lose.
Now we're all wearing black.
That's exactly right.
Hey,
We're ready for this.
Maybe next year, if we do the blackout again, we should have everybody wear like glow
Glow
in the dark
necklaces.
colors.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like that.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I think we're gonna have to stay on because we keep losing Chris anyway.
Can you hear
I think
me?
we lost him
We
again.
can hear you perfectly. You can hear Todd. You guys are good. So let's just jump into it because Chris is gonna bounce in and out. So let's start with you, Ryan. How was it? Yeah.
All right, nice.
So a funny note on the blackout. So we had customers in our 4D Asylum experience. So of course you guys know, but for those who are watching who don't know, we had our 4D Asylum experience simulator. And so it's simulating that you're being operated on in an asylum from the 1800s, all this audio, visual stuff happening. And while they were in there, power goes out, you know. And so they're in there and they think
thought
it's
it was
part of it.
ride, right?
Say again, Rich?
They thought it was part of the experience.
Right, exactly. But I'm thinking like, okay, nobody's going to be thinking about those people in there. So that's the first thing I did was open the door and then we restarted them. But that was a funny thing that happened that probably made it more scary
For them.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my, that's crazy.
Other
It was
than
weird.
that,
I remember when it happened, I was like standing there and I'm like, what the heck is this something where the lights are going to be out for a long time? Do they have a backup generator?
That's what I called Stephanie. I'm like, do they have a backup generator? She's like, the whole building's out. I'm like, that's not making me feel better.
Right.
yeah, so it's not really related, but it is a funny story. Back in 2022, our second busiest night of the season, Saturday, like 2 weeks before Halloween, Duke Energy cut the power off for service at 11:30 p.m. while we were open, while we had customers in the haunt. So that was something, trying to get those people out. So that was the first thing that came to my mind with that blackout. Okay, make
Yeah.
sure everyone's safe. But that was something, man.
Wow.
It's crazy how that happened. So, how was the show overall for you, Ryan? What would you think of it? It was your first year. What was your experience like?
So it was amazing as a vendor, as a haunt owner, getting to talk to other haunt owners and fans. Um, I need to correct something here. I see.
Yeah, you can go up to do the setting thing. There you go.
Got it.
Yep. There you
Sorry about that. It was great, getting to meet all these people, lots of people that I've looked up to. I'd never seen Field of Screams. Lots of great haunts like that I never would have got to have meet otherwise, because they don't
Right.
have booths at TransWorld. They're
Right.
there shopping just like us. So it was really cool to have that atmosphere of all those haunts together. And then it was amazing how many fans showed up. I had no idea how many would be there in Pennsylvania because we're in Hickory, North Carolina, which is about a 8.5 hour drive. But there were a lot of our fans that showed up that were like, we're coming back next year. So, I mean, it was positive from all angles for us. And I mean, it was just an honor being able to be there.
Yeah, it has to go a long way for you. I mean, as I had said earlier before we even got on the show, you're out of all the haunts in the pit, you traveled the furthest for it. So, we really appreciate that. And you actually brought, an awesome booth, and your photo op area was really cool, and that was fun. And so I've heard some stories about like when you first got into this. Can you tell us how you got into the haunt industry? And somebody told me you went as far as mortgaging literally everything and put it all on the line to do this. So, I'd love to hear your story.
Oh, so I didn't mortgage everything, but funny story. So when we started, we had no money, no money, and just invested everything back into it year after year. Luckily, I was blessed with family land here, so we had a good base to start. We didn't have to worry about rent. Over the years, acquired more land. However, those first few years, I mean, it was literally reinvesting everything every single year. I started Lake Hickory Haunts. I was a senior in high school, and that was the first year of Lake Hickory Haunts. I got into the haunt industry because my dad, Scott Settlemeyer, he acted in the JC's haunted houses when he was a teenager, and he actually played Frankenstein.
Wow.
And so he was in it from way back when.
They were some of the original haunted houses, those JCs.
Right. Black plastic, but people would line up for miles, is what my
Yeah.
dad always said.
Yep.
So
Amazing.
then later on, my dad and I, when I was in our family, when I was about 7 or 8, did a volunteer haunted trail at our house where we donated the money to someone that had cancer. And so that was a cool opportunity to be able to act. I actually ran the chainsaw at that haunt when I was 6 years old at the exit. And then, so when I grew up, it was like my dream, I've got to have a haunt. That's what I have to do.
Right.
Opened in my senior year, reinvested everything every single year. And then I lived with my dad in the basement until I was 23 because I wanted to put every ounce of money that I had into the haunt. Then rented an apartment and literally, like I said, just borrowed whatever I had to in order to meet the goals that we were trying to meet. And then the year of COVID, so I don't want to take up too much time with all this, but the year of COVID in 2020, our state had shut everything down. They were like, you're not going to be able to open, and had already invested a lot of money to be able to open that season. And, I was like, well, this is not good. Have to do something. Like, there has to be a way we can open. So I got an attorney, met with our county sheriff, and then we wrote a letter to the state health department of North Carolina and other people at the head of North Carolina. We were able to open. We got word that we could open with proper precautions, social distancing, 1 week before our opening date. And that year our sales doubled. So that was our, let me think, that was our 9th year of operation. And that was it was the most challenging year as a haunt owner. Like I probably aged like 6 years in 1 year.
Yeah. We all aged 6 years that year.
Right. So I'm not alone there.
Yeah.
and then from there, just continued investing and growing, and now, we're doing so many people, I can't believe it. Um, and we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're in a place where nobody would have thought it was possible. We're an hour from Charlotte. We're 5 miles off the interstate in Hickory. And when we started, Hickory was a small area, and now it's really grown. So it's a new thing to be a part of the industry. I've really looked up to it, and it's kind of mind blowing to be a part of it now.
The interesting thing that you say that some of the best haunts in the country are not located very close to a major city. Not saying they're not within an hour or so from the city, but they're outside of the city where the land is cheaper, and they do very well. And you know what my thought is? This is just a personal thought. It's because there's not much else to do there, so it's a big deal.
True.
There's, when you're in the city, you're competing with everything. So a lot of
Right.
people think more people, more business. It doesn't always equate to that. The cost
True.
of doing business and things like that, it makes it tougher. Now the guys do well in a lot of the major cities, but I've heard from quite a few haunts that are an hour or so, maybe even up to 2 hours away from a major city, and they do very well. And it's because they generally own the land. It's inexpensive. It's easier for them to do. But I mean, aside from all that, obviously we want to talk to Todd here as well and bring you guys all into the conversation. I think it's really cool to see someone as young as you and having a haunt as successful as yours is, to a point that, we, at some point we do have some future plans to tour your place, that we've talked to you about, which at some point we'll get into that. Not tonight, but in the future, maybe, but we've heard your haunt's amazing, and we're looking forward to touring that someday. So
Well, thank you.
that'll be
I
cool.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So, and great job, and we appreciate the support at the show.
Thank you.
We've heard a lot of great things about your place, and that's one of the reasons why we were very happy to hear that you wanted to be part of East Coast. So,
Well, thank you. That means a lot, and I appreciate you inviting me. That was at IAPA. We went
yeah,
into the booth,
exactly.
and you told me about it, and I was like, how could I say no? An offer
Yeah.
I shouldn't refuse.
You guys were a big part of the show this year, and you brought a lot of really cool stuff, and it was nice to see, that you did all that stuff. So we appreciate all that, and this is some photos of, some of the stuff that was going on in the pit, and some of the different actors, and it was good. And it was cool to see all the people that you brought in from out of town that were so interested in being part of the show. A lot of the guys we met, on the floor and stuff, really cool.
Yeah, we had a lot of people there. I mean, you probably know as well as me, as much as we went back and forth on the spreadsheet. But
yeah.
close
Well,
to
next year,
30.
now you're a veteran. You understand what to do. It's easier. You understand the floor, how to get in, and what to do. And we're excited to see what you do, for the following year. It'll be a lot of fun.
Same here. Thank you.
We appreciate that. And we'll talk more. I do want to talk to Todd a little bit. Todd, obviously, Ryan could be one of your customers in the future. I don't know if he's bought from you yet, but Todd has some amazing products. I was actually extremely impressed with his booth. I don't know, we were talking about this earlier, that, he was probably in the running for best booth at the show. It looked amazing. Little Spider's a tough one to beat. I will tell you, they've won it several times at TransWorld, and that's the hard place to win it. But they've won it many times, and they're either winner or runner up almost every single year. So they do very well with that. And Todd's booth was amazing. So Todd, can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was at the show, and how you got started and what you're doing?
Yeah, so this show was great. We this is our first year in business, so we kind of launched simultaneous with St. Louis. We were a vendor there.
Oh, wow.
We had a smaller booth. We were a 10 by 20. We were in the dark zone. And the first day of the show at St. Louis was the first day we opened. That was the day I launched the website. It was the day I launched everything. I wanted it to be simultaneous with TransWorld.
Wow.
Because it's a show that I've been going to for a few years just for fun, and I take my daughter. My daughter is one of my main designers. She designed, I don't know if anyone knows, but I have a lot of pumpkins and a lot of other creepy things, but I have some pumpkins that hang and they have guts. It's called Guts, and that's her design, and it's definitely the #1 seller. So she always reminds me a little 5% royalty fee comes her way on every sale. So,
you gotta love the kids.
Yeah, it's cheap. That's 5% is cheap, and I know she's watching this, so I'd be careful with what I say. But she could ask for more, and she'd probably get it. So
yeah.
But but I got
She's planting her
started
future.
kind of a backwards way to get started. I was in a completely different industry, and I sold my business with that a couple of years ago. But a long time ago, about seven years ago, my son, his birthday is in March, and he asked me to have a Halloween themed birthday party. And you can't really go buy things in March unless you go to TransWorld, but I didn't even know about it at that time. But so I started making stuff, and I made everything for his party, and I scared the living daylights out of him and all his little friends. And so I just got into it. It's kind of Halloween's always been a passion of mine, and when I sold my other business, I had to think of something else to do. So I was like, I'm going to start a Halloween props company, and I'm going to go as big as I can. So we're starting there, and we're rolling. So, but I love the show this year. It's kind of a homecoming for me. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I went to college at Westchester University, it's right down the street from there, 10 minutes away from that convention center. So, but I live in South Carolina now, way down in Hilton Head. So it was kind of nice going back there and seeing some of my friends who still live in the area show there.
Yeah, I'm a Pennsylvania guy too. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Lived there most of my life. Then I moved to Chicago for work, and then eventually for a girl. So,
yeah, always the girl.
So,
It's a beautiful state. Beautiful.
Yeah. I grew up really close to Hershey Park, and I always went there, and then I would go to Field of Screams every year as a kid. So it was kind of funny seeing.
Oh, wow.
That's
really neat.
All of this stuff.
Yeah,
it was a homecoming. So really neat. And I actually took my wife to Field of Screams this past year. We flew up to see my parents, and we went there. And then my daughter, I was just telling Ryan before this started, she made me go make the drive she had to go to Lake Hickory Haunts. One of her friends works there, and so we went, and it was about a 5-hour drive each way, but it was awesome, and we'll definitely do it again. So
very cool.
That's really neat. Cool. That's great.
Thanks for coming out, Ben.
Yeah,
really cool. I liked it a lot. I didn't want to leave, but you guys turned the lights off, so I figured I should probably leave.
Oh, you stayed that long?
we stayed until you ended, so she could see her friend after the lights went out.
Oh, I gotcha. So did she get to see her, though?
She did, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate y'all making the trip. And next time, let me know so we can take care of y'all for sure, man.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
We'll bring some goods.
For sure. All right, well, our host is back. Let's let him take back.
Yeah, we'll let him take over.
Here he is.
Hopefully, you guys can hear me. It always works magic behind the scenes. I got to listen to it. It's so exciting to see everybody come together part of this big thing, just working together for our amazing families. Thank you guys for everything.
It looks like we lost Chris again.
Looks like we're going to be the host of tonight's show.
Yeah.
And Rich and
Oh,
Jim.
good.
Let's go. So,
late nights with Rich.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, like, what I love about this is, Todd, even, you're new to this too. I mean, I know Ryan's been doing this for, 9 years, and you're still young.
This is our 14th year. This coming.
Yeah, you're still young in this industry, though. That's what's interesting.
That's
you know
awesome.
what I mean? Like, there's guys that have been in here. Some of these guys, like, Field of Screams you went to, I don't know how long they've been around, but probably over 30 years. So, like, it's crazy how, you get into this and you're still, we love to see newer vendors. We love to see younger haunters in there, because that's what's going to have the industry stay strong, for years to come. That's the hard part about this, is bringing in those young guys. So, like, from both of you, what would be your advice for somebody that's trying to get into this, from a haunt perspective and from a vendor perspective?
Well, I would say number one, don't do it for the money. Because if you start for the money, it's too hard. You're going to quit before you make it to the money. You have to go years before you're going to make a profit. That would be my first piece of advice. And, you have to want to do it. You have to be driven and have a passion, and you have to have a reason that you want to do it. You can't just do it for the money. That won't motivate you in the long run. It won't give your customers the best experience they could have. I would say you have to have a deeper, more meaningful reason. And for everybody, that's different. Everyone has their reasons and passions. And for me, it's creating an immersive environment where people can go and have fun. Even if they're being scared, it's like a roller coaster, right? As long as we keep it safe, they know they're not going to die. They feel free to be scared and let it all out, not be on their phone, have alone time with their family, friends, loved ones, and then when they leave, they're refreshed. They have a new state of mind, and that's what's always motivated me is seeing those families. Whether they want to have their pants scared off or whether they just want to look at a bunch of cool stuff, and we want to have everyone leave with a smile, a scream, or whatever they're looking for, and that drives me. And it's also a big thing to give back to our people, because operating a haunt, you can't do it on your own. And you have to have a great team of actors, and you also have to have a great build team, a great makeup team. It really takes a lot. But you start where you are with what you have, and you do your best, and the right people will show up, and you just keep on going.
I think that's great advice. I mean, I think that was really well said.
Thank you.
Something I was taught when I was younger is that the smartest guy is not always the most successful guy. The guy that will outwork anyone else is usually the most successful guy. And I've always lived by those words. I grew up in a family with 10 brothers and one sister, and my father passed away when I was very young. And I always looked at things that no matter who I was up against, that I would outwork them. No matter how talented they were, how much better they could do something, I could look at something and always figure out a way to do it better, and always figure out a way to work harder and outwork somebody. So for me, business is that in a nutshell. If you have the willingness to go out there and just work harder than anyone else, you're going to be successful no matter what you do.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And it's about the sacrifice.
Yep.
Like there was lots of sacrifices I made, like I'm 30 now. In my younger 20s, mid 20s, like I wasn't going out and partying. I wasn't going out and having fun on the weekends. I was working on my haunt
Agreed.
Yeah. No,
year around. And those sacrifices are what gives you that competitive edge,
Yep.
to really beat out your competitors. But it's friendly competition.
Yeah.
Like our real competition is other entertainment industries,
Correct.
right? Like haunts should work together because we help each other. We are an industry that's growing together, right? It's like Netflix, movie theaters, that's where people want to go and be entertained naturally. So we've got to give them a reason to get out the house and come to a place that's cool enough to pay some money and go through it,
You have lots of options, and you got to give them an option that they're going to choose over everything else.
Yeah.
So Todd, how about you? I mean, what's
You did it in a pretty big way, going to TransWorld and East Coast in 1 year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's obviously passion driven for me because I was in another industry. I was in the golf world for a long time. I played professional golf a little bit when I was young, and then I was in that world for a while. But then I sold my business and I had to do something else. And I learned very quickly after that I couldn't work for somebody else. I took a couple different jobs and I just didn't want to do that. So I just sat down with myself and figured out what am I passionate about. And it's always Halloween, and it's always creating and things like that. So I just jumped into it. And to Ryan's point, don't do it for the money, do it for the love of it, and just produce something really cool and go big. I just wanted to go big. So I figured TransWorld was a good place to start, and we'll make the right stuff and deliver on time and build up an inventory. I'm not doing it on a order basis. Starting in about 3 weeks, I'll have my inventory built up enough where I can make a sale and deliver it, within a day or two. So I don't want people waiting. So I'm just trying to produce high quality stuff and do it in a timely fashion.
That's key.
That's a
That's
smart
huge. Yeah.
smart way to approach things, because the last thing you want to do is take too many orders and not fulfill them, because as soon as one guy gets upset, I mean, Ryan can tell you from himself, there's over 500 exhibitors at TransWorld between Christmas and Halloween, and listen, there's no way to police them all. There's going to be issues here and there, and there's going to be And it goes both ways. I mean, I've had plenty of buyers that have really stiffed people like yourself, where they place a big order, they give you 50% down, you make the whole order, and then they say I only want half, and now you have 50% of that order to do what with?
Not to scare you.
Right. So it goes both ways, and then we have vendors that take. We have vendors that take orders and take a 50% deposit, and then they're not able to deliver. So it does go both ways, and that's the best thing that you can do. You're only as good as your word. So like if you
communicating with the buyers too, even
Yes.
if an exhibitor is going to be late on product, not that you are, I'm just saying in
Let 'em know.
general,
Let 'em
just
know.
keep communication going. The biggest problems we see, on our side of the fence is that people just go dark. And when people go dark, then you're just there's no way to figure out what's going on.
Yep.
I think if someone can call you and say, listen, I know this was due, it's going to be delayed. At least people feel like you're keeping communication open, and then there's a potential still for them to get their product.
Yeah.
But
my cell phone number's on the website, so they can get me.
well, that's awesome. I mean, really, that's awesome. And to be able to launch it the way you did and start a TransWorld and do East Coast for a first year, I think that's incredible.
So do you have, Todd, do you have any cool new products you're working on? You don't have to tell us what they are. Is there some new stuff that you're planning on for next year at TransWorld?
Yeah. I'm extremely excited about some of the creatures that we have designed. We like to do things and put a little different spin on stuff. And I don't want, my pumpkins are a little bit different than most people's pumpkins. So if you haven't seen them, check those out. But I have a couple creatures coming out. The one I'd probably want to really talk about is it's called the Skinwalker. And we have a rendering. All of our stuff starts with artwork. So my daughter or my wife will draw it out, and we have a really pretty cool sketchbooks and stuff going on. But the Skinwalker is exactly how he sounds. He's really kind of creepy. He's emaciated. He's very hungry. He hangs upside down. He looks back. His head turns. He's got light. He's in development. I thought he would be ready for East Coast. Not quite ready, but that one, a lot of people ask me about that because I have that rendering on my site or in my little pamphlets that I hand out. But there's a couple other really cool creatures that are coming out, and I actually got an even bigger booth at next TransWorld, so I do plan on having more to offer there, and so just keep on hopefully going like this. So
agreed.
Yeah.
And then this guy behind me here, he's actually a lantern, and that's called there he is. That's the torso lantern. So that's a little kind of gruesome, but we go from that's kind of the level of detail that I like people to see or look at. That's one thing we offer, in addition to our pumpkins that are pretty well known now. But so that guy, he's out now. He's ready to go. I got one behind me here. I got a few in stock. He's got a meat hook that hangs him up, but he's not for everybody, but he's pretty cool, and he's got a lot of detail. And there's detail on the back of it. There's some big claw marks on the back of it, so it's a 360-degree prop for any haunt owners. You don't have to stick it in a corner. You can stick that thing anywhere.
That's awesome. That was really cool.
It's pretty cool. So, a little gory, but pretty cool. But some of we have an 8-foot scarecrow that comes up out of the corn holding two pumpkins that are lit up. He's in development. He's gonna be really neat too.
Very nice.
So we've got some bigger.
You writing this all down? You writing this all down, Ryan, so you know what you're going to be purchasing?
Oh yeah, I'm making mental notes for sure.
Planning out your pumpkin scene and.
Always like
the blackout was really good for us. I don't know if anybody was in the area when we had the blackout, but we had all our pumpkins are battery operated. So when the lights went out,
did you send that picture over to Robert?
Highlighting
it. Todd, did you send that?
I can send it to him. Yeah,
send it to him now. I don't know if he can
get it over to him.
Get it up now or not. He might be able to, but that's pretty neat. It was pretty cool because like there were no other lights other than batteries, or if somebody had like a iPad, you could see reflections off of those and stuff. But there was no other light in the room. So
I will say everybody screamed. Everybody was screaming, and they just continuously screamed until the lights came on. I didn't notice it at first until I went back and watched the video that I took of the booth. but
Yeah.
it was pretty funny.
And then they booed whenever the lights come on.
Yeah, they did boo as well, but
Yeah.
Actually, how long the lights were off for?
It was at least a minute or so, maybe 2.
yeah, about a
I
minute, maybe
felt
two.
it was like, it was to the point where it was like uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
was like, is it going to go back on?
I was starting to wonder. Everything was going through my head of how do you fix this if, the vendors lose all, like 4 or 5 hours and no sales with the lights out,
Right.
on Sunday. It was that was all going through my head, wondering if they were going to get the power back on. It was everything. And then I felt bad for the Illumibot guy because all his projectors were set up, and when the power went out, it was wiped out. So he had to reprogram
Restart
all that
everything.
stuff, restart it all. Everything was dead in there. We had a
That
couple.
booth was really cool. That was close to mine. I walked over and looked at that. That was a really cool booth.
Yeah, his product's amazing. And then we had
Same with little Spider was right next to me. Those people were great. That was an awesome booth too.
They're super
But I am coming for them. I'm gonna add to mine. I'll make it a little better.
I love it.
Even better. It's hard to do it by yourself though, and then my wife has short arms, so I can't. All this stuff overhead. I gotta figure out a way to make all that work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys being on tonight. It's really interesting to get it from two different perspectives, and I think it's really neat from your perspective, Todd, that this is your first time, and you did 2 large shows in 1 year and launched your website on the same day as the opening of TransWorld.
It takes a lot of guts.
That is pretty cool. I don't know.
What Ryan did take more guts, but that was
I
my
agree.
plan.
I mean,
Let's
they're
just
both-
launch
they're
it there
both amazing.
simultaneous.
Well, say again. I'm sorry.
I said what you did took more guts, but I just launched it that same day when everyone's thinking about it. So it was.
Oh no,
But
man!
your
It's all-
story was really cool. I didn't realize you opened that when you were in high school. That place is incredible. I went there this year. If you're anywhere near there, go there and check it out again.
I really appreciate that, man. I mean, similar to your story, my first job, I had one job. It was Waffle House. And I was in high school and I worked there for 3 months. I was like, never again. I got to do something on my own. So it reaffirmed that haunt passion. Same thing you said,
Sorry, Waffle House.
Yeah, do something.
Yeah, hey, I go eat there, but I just can't work there.
That's a good one.
And funny story about our first trip to TransWorld. And so we opened in 2012. I heard about it. We went in 2013 and we didn't have the money to get a nice hotel. We didn't know anything about TransWorld. So we rented this Kia SUV. We drove out from North Carolina. We got a motel that was across the street, apparently on the bad side of town, right? And we had to drive 25 minutes each morning. Say again?
Were you in East St. Louis?
Yes, that's where it was.
Which is actually Illinois.
Yeah, we were in Chicago, basically.
Across the river.
Yeah.
You were in yeah.
So we had that rental car. The first night we got in, we couldn't afford to get a motel across the street for all the days. So we slept in the Kia the first night in the parking deck.
Wow.
Didn't have enough money to attend any seminars, buy anything at all. We went to the free seminars. We saw there's free seminars on, Wednesday and Thursday morning, I believe it was. And we went to those. And we had no money to spend. And I saw all this cool stuff, and it was like, man, that would be awesome to have. And now here we are going to a show hosted by TransWorld, and we brought a 24-foot trailer and a 6-foot enclosed trailer. And it's like, if you keep doing the thing, it's going to pay off. And that's what I told any other haunt owner that came up and asked for advice at the show. I said, just keep doing the thing, trust the process. And if the passion's there, it's going to work,
And I will tell you guys, over the years, Ryan has bought a ton of seminars.
Yeah. And we've had some issues
He's not
with those.
just going to those free ones anymore. He's buying them. So.
Right. Oh, yeah.
She calls Jen every year and has her switch them all around, and she wants to put a bullet in her She's like, oh my, when I told her I met you, she's like, oh my God, it's the kid who calls me all the time and he mixes up all the seminars and got to change them all the time.
Yeah,
I said,
that
he's
was
the nicest guy in the
No,
world.
Rich
You're
did.
gonna
He's
love
like, Jenny, you're gonna love him. I'm like, I don't know.
that was funny at IAPA, Rich. You said, "Yeah, you're the guy that always messes up the seminars that Jen talks about." And I said,
I know.
"No, probably."
When I see that it was Ryan on my caller ID, I'm like, hell no, I don't want to answer
Like,
the
oh
phone.
shit, he's gonna make me change like 5 seminars.
But that's only because I bought a lot,
Listen,
right?
Ryan, because of you, I'm going to tell you this. So we've been working on our software and we're changing it to where you're going to be able to edit the seminars yourself in the future.
Oh.
Because of you.
Because of you. So it should be ready for next year's show where if you book a seminar and you don't want it and you want to change
You
it,
can flip it out yourself.
you should be able to do it yourself. We're going to call it the Ryan Sedemeyer program. So it should be.
That's awesome. That'll be much easier than having to call y'all. Because every time I called too, Jen, I was like, they got a million stuff on their mind. I don't
Yeah, I was
want
like, Jen, I'm like, I do have a lot of things. I'm like,
Oh, it's the hardest thing to do it too. So
no, it'll be fine. Once you can do it yourself, have at it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So you want to hear a cool story about your story. So 2013 was the first year I came to TransWorld. I actually was an exhibitor that year. Okay.
Oh.
And Jen, Miss Jen here, she owned the show and she's selling booths for future shows. And I'm way in the back by myself.
The Halloween Extreme year.
No, yeah, but I was way in the back by myself. They put me in like the worst location ever. And I'm back there all alone and I'm selling paintball supplies and stuff. And she's walking by and just totally ignored us. And I was like so excited. I did like 300 grand in sales and I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is amazing. How the hell am I selling all this stuff? And I'm in this little 10 by 10 booth and she walks by and then she just goes right past us. And I'm like, what the hell? So I go over and grab her and I said, excuse me, are you like a mirage here? I see you're selling booths to everybody, but you just walk right by ours. So she stands back and she looks around like this and looks up at the booth and says, I just don't get it. She said, like, I don't think you'll be successful at our shows. Like, and I don't, you might have done okay here, but like the other shows aren't like this. You know, we at the time, Jen was running a show called Halloween Extreme and it was ran in Florida and it was co-located with Spooky Empire. And it was kind of more of a tchotchke show and like not even as big as MHC, you know, and then she had MHC did you have MHC at that time? Or
no, not yet.
She didn't even own MHC at the time. So it was just those two shows. And I wanted to go to it. So I was like, well, I don't care what you say. Just give me all the contracts. We're coming. You know, because I couldn't believe I'm this one booth guy and I sold 300 grand worth of product. I don't know how the hell I did it. But I was the only one selling what I was selling. And it was a big thing growing in the industry at the time. So, you know, the funny thing is then I filled out the contracts, but I was so busy. There were people lined up at my booth, you know, and I just gave her the contracts without filling out the credit card form. And then she called me for like 2 months and I ignored her for like 2 straight months, never even like responded to the calls. Then one day I decided like I really want to get into the Halloween industry because I was from the paintball industry and I had played professional paintball and I owned 2 retail stores and a field and all this stuff. But that industry was starting to go down. Like from 2005 at its peak, it was $1 billion industry and it started declining because Google had changed some rules online and then I decided, man, this lady might be useful to me. So I call her and I say, like, you know, I really like to get into Halloween. Maybe we can help each other, or whatever. And then she's like, oh my God, like paintball's growing into our show. I really love you to help me with that. And that's kind of how, you know, we started getting to know each other. And then I came into town and we went to one of the girls that worked with us, Anne-Marie Davinsky. I came into town and I went to their mud run at Wisconsin Fairgrounds, where they had their haunted house when they were in business. They've since sold it to some other people that work for us. And I had went there and come into town, met her, and we went to some paintball fields and did some different things. And long story short, you know, within like 4 months, she asked me to work for her.
He got what he's not saying is he got every single paintball manufacturer to buy booth space at the show. And I was like, he sat down at the dinner and it just started filling up and filling up and filling up. I'm like, holy shit.
And then she offered me this insulting salary. And
because to you, I was putting all the money back in the company. I didn't have,
right.
You know?
And at the time she was growing. And this was early years of when she had taken over the show, because prior to this, you probably don't even remember this, but it was a party and costume show combined with Haunt, and Haunt was very small. It was only a couple rows of booths. And
Oh,
a lot
wow.
of people don't even know the history of the show. And it was upstairs on the second floor
This
in
was back in
Chicago,
Chicago.
and nobody really cared about Haunt, and it was this little thing. And the party and costuming side of it was huge. I mean, it was way bigger than TransWorld is now. And that side, and the people from the party and costume didn't really care for the haunters, because the haunters would buy, you and you buy this one, this costume, one of that costume, 3 of this costume, whatever. Where the stores were buying a case of this, 10 cases of that. So they really didn't want to deal with hunters. So the two were separated, and that show kind of broke off for, we won't get into all that drama now, but it broke off, went and did its own thing. And then Jen came into the industry. She talked to her family and said, I want to buy Haunt. And she ended up buying it because she saw the vision of the future of events opposed to the costuming side of it. So she ended up buying it from her mother. And when I came in, I think you were running it for 2 years at that point, right?
Yeah, a few years.
Yeah, a couple years, and the show was, it was pretty decent size, but it was not
growing.
It was nothing like it was.
And that was what year?
That was like, she probably started with you bought it in like maybe 2010 or 11.
Yeah, well, we started negotiating in like the first year in St. Louis, I took it over. So that was, I think, 2009, 2010.
Somewhere around 2010.
Yeah, I mean, when we brought the show to St. Louis, it was very small. And
I came in his third year, and then that's when her and I combined, I started working for the company, and I had my business. I ended up selling mine and started working. It grew into more of a full-time thing, and I focused on the trade show floor, and she focused on attendees. And we still do that to this day. I don't know how you and your wife, you work together. And a lot of people say, how the hell do you work with your wife every day? To be honest with you, I'd rather not work with anyone else. I love working with her. We don't really have any problems with each other. Like we joke around, and I'm a sarcastic type person. So like when there's something that the two of us, we cross each other's paths, we're like, oh, hell no, we're not doing that. This is how it's going to be on my floor. You're not changing my floor. And she's the same way with her. I give her advice. So like it's fine, and like she does what she does, I do what I do, and the show has flourished from it. And that's how we ended up with we bought MHC 1 year, and there were former owners of it, and it was kind of staying the same. And we pulled it out of Columbus, brought it to Chicago, and it's doing well there. And then the East Coasting, I had been talking about it for a couple of years about doing something there, but we try to be very fair to companies that are already doing something. We don't want to recreate the wheel and try to take away what someone else is doing. So we kind of stayed out of the East Coast. And there was a show there before us, and it ended up closing down at some point. It wasn't successful. And then we had talked about it for years. And then 1 year she was talking with Caitlin.
So if anyone has anything to say, Caitlin and I were on the phone. She said, we need that show. I said, will you be the sponsor? She said, yes. Rich came in. I said, okay, we got a show on the East Coast.
And that's how it was born. And we knew that the East Coast was a great place to go, because
but I still was apprehensive.
Super densely populated with a lot of haunted houses and a lot of people. So we knew it would be a great place to do it. We've thought of other places. We've looked into California. We've looked into Texas, and there's little shows in places. So we try not to step on people's toes. Maybe I can't say that we won't ever do something there at some point, but that's how this was born, and that's how it grew. And us over years, we worked together for a long time before we had even started dating. And then we started dating and eventually got married. So that's where we're at with it. So
y'all have done an incredible job, because from then to now, even I didn't see pre-St. Louis, but even from the first year of St. Louis, like there was not a line like there is now.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's technology too, it's like people could order this stuff online. It could be shipped, but people are still coming out to these shows. I think that every time we go to the convention and it's full, it's like, wow, like there is still hope for mankind. People still do.
They care about networking, and
right, it's valuable.
It's huge. It's huge.
Well, even for yourself, Ryan, you could even say, and even for Todd. I mean, like we were saying at the beginning of the show, for you guys, come on. It is so important to go to these tours. It is so important to come to these events and network.
And shows.
Because you learn a lot of things at these shows and talking to others to prevent yourself from making mistakes, especially when you're a new owner. Yeah, and don't ever be a person. She would be on. I think they're having technical.
Is Caitlin not to interrupt, but where's Caitlin?
I think she is down right now.
I think
I think we lost her.
technical
Oh, we're still,
difficulties
yeah.
with
I just want to make sure we're
with
not
Chris,
having her
too.
sit in a green.
Yeah, no, and then like a lot of that is every person you talk to, don't be afraid to talk to people, because the more you talk, you can prevent yourself from having issues down the road or things. You've been doing it now for 13, 14 years, whatever. You've already experienced so many things that you could help somebody new,
Right.
prevent doing that. And it's the same with you, Todd. There are a lot of great exhibitors out there that you could talk to that'll help you fix a lot of things, the mistakes that you can make. Like, I mean, one I could give you, for instance, is Michael from Ghost Ride. Talk to him. He's an open book. He's always trying to help vendors. He always tells them, do not buy one booth. You're wasting your time. You need to get more than one booth. You need to take the risk. You need to expand your product out so people can see it, and that's how it works. I'll give you one company that kind of reminds me of what you're doing and what they did. And this is Immortal Masks. So when Immortal Masks started, they didn't come to our smaller shows. You know where they went? They went to TransWorld first. That was the first show they went to. Andrew Freeman, and he just said, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go all out. If I'm going to see if I'm going to make it in this industry, I'm going to TransWorld. And he went there and he did his first year and he got one booth and he did very well. And now he has 15 booths at our show. Okay. He started out with one and he's at 15 now, and he's probably the most successful mask maker, silicone mask maker at our show. There's a lot of other great options at the show. By no means like, am I telling you should buy from one place or another, but that's where he started. He started with one booth and he worked hard and harder than most. And they're constantly him and George and Michelle, the three owners at this time, his wife Michelle and George, they work very hard, and they have a very successful place out in just outside of Hollywood, California. We went and visited the place. It was amazing, and that's their story. They started from one booth, and they just kept growing. And that's where it's at. You gotta just keep looking at what other people are doing, and even these guys, they need to spend time going to haunts. If you go to Ryan's place and you see what Ryan's doing, you're like, oh man, Ryan, you think you should be thinking about doing this, or you could be thinking about doing this.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
We make this, and this is what's cool. Go to those haunts, because you're gonna see actors, and you're gonna get ideas of what they need made. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about.
And
Yeah.
I agree. And thank you guys for everything. Like, honestly, like, I feel like we've kept you on for a while, but I truly appreciate the effort you guys have made, to do East Coast right after TransWorld. I mean, it's a lot, so, and next year it's even going to be a tad bit tighter.
It will, yeah, well, 4 weeks. Yeah. So we're starting to plan already.
I'm like, it's just a tad. Like, it's not bad.
I'm wondering.
To your point, I wish I knew who it was, but because I would love to give them credit. But at TransWorld, I was walking around when I took a break with my daughter. We were walking around a little bit, and I saw it was an artist booth, somebody who just did drawings or pictures or something, and they had something that kind of gave me the idea for the Pumpkin Wasteland that I built and put at East Coast. I saw a rendering or something that spurred that idea there, just walking around.
That's cool. That's really neat.
Because I didn't, and then I saw it in my head, and I was like, well, I can try and produce that, but I don't have a lot of time, but let's figure it out. And that was a cool little booth that a lot of people took a lot of pictures in front of. But Anthony at Cyclone Signs made the sign for that, and the one behind
Did
me.
a great job.
He's great.
Yeah.
Anthony is amazing.
And he used my pumpkins in the sign. They're my designs, and he put them up. It was really cool. So, but the whole wasteland idea came from just walking around at TransWorld for 5 minutes, and I happened to see a photo, and I took a picture of it.
And you got inspired.
And then I made the idea from that. But I don't remember whose booth it was. I wish I could give them a little credit, but it was an artist. And I just kind of ran.
We have so many vendors, it's hard to remember them all. In the past, I used to know every one of them off by heart, but now there were so many new vendors this year. I mean, even some of the haunts that were going around buying. It was weird because this is where, like, in your situation, you're new, so you have a new product, so you're in a good position right now. Guys that have been there for 30 years, it gets tougher for them because they're doing what they know. They're doing a lot of things that they've been making for a long time. But if you take a guy like Ryan, or guys that have been around even longer, he's been around for 14 years. He's seen a lot of what's at TransWorld. And what's your perspective, Ryan, when you're walking around at TransWorld? Like, do you go to the guys that like, and you see similar things you've been getting for years, or are you out there looking for that new cool product to inspire you to make something new?
Well, it depends on which attractions we're adding, So, like, I'll plan the attractions we're adding for the next year, and then I know, which themes we're looking at adding. So, I'm looking for those specific themes. So, and it was ironic, actually, in 2023, we were doing our Big Top Circus. We tore the whole thing down, made it 3 times bigger, huge, massive circus. And we went to TransWorld, and like everybody had clown stuff. Like, it was perfect, so got a bunch of clown stuff. It worked out. And then last year we created Nature's Revenge, which was a greenhouse, a little off topic, but it was a greenhouse attraction. We went to the show. Like, I had actually talked to Kevin with Gorgalore back in the winter of 2023. It's like, hey, Kevin, you have anything that's nature themed? He was like, well, actually, I'm working on some new stuff. And I was like, perfect. Like, can you save it for me? And he brought those mushrooms and a lot of that nature themed stuff. And there was a lot of nature themed stuff in the dark zone as well.
You're talking about Never Mortis, because that's the first one I was thinking about.
Yes, Never Mortis.
Products that I've never seen before, which is exactly what I'm talking about. Those guys,
right?
They were at East Coast as well. She had a couple booths at East Coast, and she was at the far right hand corner. But she has different animatronics than anyone else makes, which was kind of neat and refreshing to see.
Very unique
bugs and plants and all kind of stuff, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cool to see people have their own, to put their own artistic touch on it. Like, everybody could make the same thing, but it all moves different depending on who made it. Like Alan Hobbs and Still Beast Studios, his stuff is very affordable. Like a young haunt can get some costumes from Alan Hobbs, and like a Stillwater costume.
Yeah.
Whereas, immortal masks, like, you probably want to wait a few years before you get a silicone mask.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see people like Alan that offer that stuff that's more affordable, and then the higher end stuff. So there truly is stuff at these shows for young haunts and for older haunts.
Yeah. All that.
And
yeah.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
That's a really good point.
Yep. Very good. Well, anyway, guys, we don't want to keep you on all night. We really appreciate you first for coming to our shows and supporting them. That always matters to us. We're only as good as you guys are. That goes a long way for us. We thank you for coming on this show tonight and, telling people your story. I mean, it goes a long way to let them see what their peers are doing. We have a lot of vendors that watch this show. We also have a lot of haunters that watch the show, all the way from actors to owners. So that's important for them, and we try to educate on that. I do want to mention that next week we're going to have some of our Christmas vendors from the East Coast Christmas Show, and it's inaugural year. It was its first year, so we kind of wanted to do that on its own to talk about that, and we will have some guests for that next week. We're sorry about all the technical difficulties that we had tonight. Chris is usually our host and handles all this, and unfortunately he was having problems this evening, and as well as Caitlin, so our premier sponsor, which wasn't able to be on. So.
And speaking of Caitlin, she wanted me to pass along their promo code here. That will be good for another week for East Coast Haunters. The machine prices are going up May 1st, so it's best to use this code and get your 10% off before May 1st. Otherwise, regardless, the prices are increasing for Froggy's machines on May 1st, just due to everything going on in the world.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys use show code ECHC25 for the next week and save 10% off from our premier show sponsor, Froggy's Fog.
Absolutely.
All right.
So thanks for
everyone.
everything. We'll see you guys all next week. And, Ryan and Todd, we will see you soon. I don't know if we'll see you at Legendary this year. Love to have you there if you have the opportunity to get out there. We are going to Utah this year. My personal favorite, it's not that I'm going to say it's better than one haunt or another. I love all the haunts we go to. What I loved about Utah was the atmosphere, the combination of haunts, all of it combined together was one of the funnest places I've ever been to. So it was great. All the haunts were literally amazing. They were all top notch. I think it was really cool to experience that. So if you get the opportunity, I would get out there for that. And I think after next week we'll be pretty hardcore into MHC. So
hope to see you guys there too. So,
Yep.
all right,
Thank
talk to you later, guys.
Thank y'all for
Thanks,
having
everybody.
me.
See you next week.
Thanks
Bye.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks.